Grant Denyer now.
It's Grant Denyer.
The gold logie this year. Oh my God, it's Grant Denyer.
And our mum, chezzidenyer. She's really crazy.
It's all true.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Chezzidenyer.
That's right, you come to the right place, me friends.
And George.
And George. Oh, George.
Yeah. How are we, legends?
We are good. We are really, really good.
What is your handle again for your Instagram account?
My handle is @_G Sarge.
Okay, so that's if you want to hit up the great man, please feel free. In fact, you can even send him a message, really. If you wanted to do like a little audio message and just pump that bad boy through to him, that's a great idea. Because we just love...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We want to hear your actual voice. We're loving the words that are coming in via text, but that's, when you leave your review, that's not the only place you can send us some love. You can do it in the form of audio as well.
And we did get one.
I reckon on this podcast, we are all about next leveling things. We go from the words to actually hearing your dulcet tones, and we've got a really, really nice message from a beautiful lady by the name of Elle, and I'm not too sure if we've got the audio lined up there ready to go.
Oh, is this one of these voice messages? Is this our first voice message that we're playing on the podcast?
Yes.
That's it. Well, at the end of the last episode, I said, I've got an exclusive, and this is some excellent, brilliant audio from one of our very loyal listeners.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I let the team down.
I was patting.
I was listening to the podcast while I was waiting to pick my children up from school, and anyway, turned the car off. Then we got back in the car and anyway, turned the car on and your beautiful song started playing. I kind of ignored it. The boys didn't say too much. And then that night, my 8-year-old was in the shower singing Horse Lips on a Penis. And my husband was absolutely mortified. And I just casually said, oh, yeah, George made that song for Chezzi and Grant. And he responded with, who are they? And I was like, oh, they're my new friends. And then I had to actually tell him that you were wonderful podcast hosts and that I listened to the podcast. But he now teases me that I've claimed fake friends when truly you guys aren't. You are a big part of my, I'd say my day when I listen to the podcast. But now Horse Lips on a Penis is a song or a group of words that is used quite frequently in my house of men. Anyway, keep up the great work. We truly appreciate it. Thank you.
That was so good.
Thank you, Elle, for our very first voiceover message. First and foremost, let's get this out of the way. You need to divorce him. If
he doesn't know who we are,
if he doesn't know, for crying out loud, we've been here for 8 minutes in the podcasting world. We're a big deal. And, of course, we're friends, Elle. We're best friends now.
We are besties. Yeah. Love you, Elle. Love you and your son. Sorry about that. A sailor started singing that song the other day.
Yeah, I kind of know how Elle feels now. See, I was just laughing at Elle going, you know what, I'm bringing your boys up right. Yeah, that's the education they need, making the young men of the future hilarious. And then I heard my own daughter singing it the other day. I was like, you know what, enough of these songs.
I know, it was
well, see, Elle has got a very... I was messaging Elle as well, and she's got a very big kind of... She wants this song to be a single on Spotify. So I think we should maybe work away at that or maybe get a music video happening. I reckon we should aim high.
Oh, my God. I can't even picture. I can't even think about what would be in
we need
a
a
music
horse
video.
Sure. Who's going to provide the lips?
Oh.
Anyone from MAFS? They can provide the lips because they're all got implants. So they can be the lips. Do you want to be the front of the horse or the back of the horse?
I reckon I'm more of a back guy. Yeah. I'll do the back door side of things.
Well, then I call you Large Sarge for no reason, and that's where the business end of the horse is, if you know what I'm saying. If you're into breeding, it's the back end.
Told I've got a very nice ass as well, so it'll be a good-looking horse.
You did tell us that. Oh, hey,
getting any other compliments?
Well, I was just about to ask about the dentist. Did you have your date? Did she do your teeth?
I wish I was sitting here saying that we've cleaned each other's teeth, but we haven't yet.
No.
So what does that mean?
Has there been a date?
A date?
No, not yet.
Okay, so it's still in the works.
Still in the works. Still looking at booking an appointment with her and getting things rolling.
Okay, so when we say date, we mean just an actual
Appointment.
professional appointment.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that? Okay, we've had the appointment.
Oh, okay. So how'd the
Right.
appointment go?
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, my teeth are clean, so that's a plus.
Was there a
I found a
connection
new dentist to go to.
other than nice pearly whites? Did you feel anything? Like, was there a moment? Did you both just get stuck in each other's eyes? Was there a moment where they just locked together and you thought, I never want this moment to end? Anything
No,
like
she's
that?
looking in his mouth. She's not looking in his eyes. Otherwise, she'd
She
be like,
was, but I pretended that my mouth was my eyes, so it did sort of feel good in that moment.
So she
but
was
no,
she was looking at your eyes.
Yeah, but I was telling myself she's totally digging me right now, but she's literally just digging into my teeth.
As you were like, did you have one of those mouth things in where you can't close your mouth and you just drool out the corner of your, in your
She
mouth?
got me in my absolute worst moment, just sitting there, staring at her. My worst ever face. It's probably my sex face she saw.
Oh, how does that go exactly?
no, I don't want to see that.
Well, just, put.
remember your
put
mum's
in those
watching.
things
Yeah,
at the
remember
dentist.
your mum's watching,
What's
and so is Grant's mum.
There is a board game that you can get where you put those dentist things in your mouth and you got to try and say sentences and people have got to guess them, isn't there?
Oh,
Absolutely. That was that Ellen DeGeneres game, wasn't it?
Yeah, yep. I'm sure she ripped it off from somewhere. But yeah. I don't know what's
Got
called.
to try and say words, and the person's got to guess what you're saying.
so did you have to wear a bib during this appointment?
Yeah, I had like a white paper gown around the top half of my body.
Yeah.
Did you think about going with an adult diaper just to make it the complete package? It's a
didn't
giant
say I
baby in a
didn't.
chair.
I totally did.
It's not
something I would have done.
It's not a romantic scenario or
not.
scene, is it? You got, there's probably other dentist rooms next door, and you just hear the combination of drilling and screaming,
The drill growing. Yeah.
and the blood the sucker they
Oh,
put in your mouth to get the
is not
saliva out.
sexy at all.
Mate, if you can get a date out of that, you are God's gift to women.
Hey, did she say that you had nice teeth, or did she say that you probably need to floss a bit more? Because that's what I always get.
Yeah, I definitely need to floss a lot more. Like the first time we met, she said, it's like a 9.5 out of 10. But I realised that we were on radio when she said that. Right. So she was probably just saying it for radio. And then she saw me and was like, I didn't really think this guy was actually going to come and get his teeth sorted out. But anyway, it's a whole thing.
And did you do one of those things where you just accidentally left your mobile number just on the chair as you walked out?
Well, I'm not too sure if you remember, but the first thing was we actually got each other's numbers. So we've had each other's numbers for a very long time.
That's right.
And so you've been texting each other?
Been texting,
We're really grilling
but
you today, aren't we?
I'm a networker. I've got a fair few people I like to reach out to and have a bit of a convo with. So I'm just a friendly dude.
So you've got
days.
several
Playing
on
the
the go.
field?
Is this what you're telling us?
You saucy mongrel.
There's a couple of markets I haven't tapped into yet, but we'll
A couple of
see how we go.
markets. What are they?
We're looking forward to tapping those, are you, young
Cows
man?
and sheep. A couple of markets.
I just like being friendly. I've got a heap of friends, and I'm just loving
It's
just
just called
speaking to
options,
people and
isn't it,
catching
brother?
up.
It's just called options. It's called dipping the line in the water and just seeing which fish bites. And each line might have a different lure on it. You never know which one's going to land, brother. It's the law of averages. You got to play the averages if you're supposed to find love in this world in this day and age. So I applaud you.
Yeah, I reckon.
Plenty of fish out there.
I
What,
reckon
a vet?
rather than go for a fish, I think you should go for a doctor, because I don't know what it's like up in Rocky, but I tell you, to try and get a doctor's appointment here in the country is impossible.
Are you just going to work your way through all the trades, like a vet next week, fly in, fly out worker after that, and then what is that? Is this what you're doing? Are you doing research, or is this?
I am. I'm undercover researching the best occupation to date. That's a good idea. I think I should definitely stick at that. But yeah, as I said, I'm just a guy with a lot of ladies to talk to
And a lot of sex toys from a pinata.
and a lot of sex toys to share.
Hey,
Okay.
I know we're paying out on you a little bit
Yeah,
here.
we
We're being a
are.
little bit uncruel, but we need to get down to the serious business of being serious, because I could not be more proud of you than I am right now, young George Sargent, because he had the biggest interview of his life in his regional radio career. He had none other than our Prime Minister on his radio show, co-hosting for 3 hours on air. George, interviewing the Prime Minister.
What?
You've made it, brother.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's so funny how quickly it all happened. Like you'd think, okay, Prime Minister is coming to town. A few weeks out, you're going to reach out to his team and organise this big elaborate interview and get all your questions ready. But this all happened inside 24 hours, probably less.
Whoa.
We found out he was coming to town. I reached out to his media team and they said, yep, 6:15 a.m. the next morning.
You just cold called them.
This.
Fair income. So it wasn't like the press secretary never came to you. You just went to them and was like,
He's a
hey,
networker.
I'm a guy. I'm doing a thing. I'm coming up in the world. How about the biggest position in the country? Come on and just talk about some stuff with me. And they said yes.
All my skills networking with those girls came in handy for snagging an interview with the Prime Minister.
Did you take him to a dentist straight after the interview? And go, mate.
Yeah. Cleaned each other's teeth. Had a little floss.
How'd it go?
It was so amazing. A really nice guy on first sort of chatting to each other. We were meant to speak for 5 minutes, right? The media advisor said 5 minutes, and here are your 3 approved questions.
Right.
So do you think I would actually stick to those 3 approved questions? Absolutely not.
That's my boy.
So I do the first 3 questions, and that takes us up to the 5-minute mark, and I go, I really want to get a bit more out of this. I want to talk about some normal shit because people listening to my workday show with all the upbeat music don't want to hear about politics.
Nah.
So
who gives a crap about inflation?
No, all the stuff that's sort of keeping this country rolling. Who cares? So we talk about how he lost weight during the election campaign.
Wow.
We've got a game on
he had
our
COVID?
station. Yeah, how he lost weight during COVID. We've got a game on the station that is sort of like our benchmark segment that we played with him. And, that was really fun. And so I stretched this all out to about a 15-minute chat. And I'm thinking, shit, this is like the media advisor. He's going to hang up on me in a second. Like, what are you doing, Sarge? Stop. You're ruining this. But
this is your one shot, brother. You got to go with it.
Yeah, got to the 15-minute mark and I said, thank you so much for your time, Prime Minister Albanese. Hopefully we can do this in person. And he was really, really happy with it all. And he went on with his day and probably spoke on Sunrise after that. So I honestly, career highlight. Like I'm 20 years old. It's the big, I never thought I'd be talking to a Prime Minister at this age. Genuinely biggest interview. And I know he's just the dude at the end of the day, but there's a lot of, when it's the Prime Minister, there's a lot that comes with that.
Well,
so it was a real
prestige.
privilege.
Yeah.
Did you tell him about the pinata or the blow-up dolls?
Horselips?
Or horselips? Did you play horselips on a penis to the Prime Minister?
I really thought about all those things, but I started to really think about my future in that job if I was to ask that.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Don't listen to us. Horselips on a Prime Minister.
I
That's a
had
new
to
version.
interview the Deputy Prime Minister once.
Who was it at the time?
John Anderson? Was that his name? John?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking
Ando.
like a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a bit of a straight shooter, and I remember it was such a hot day and I had such a sweaty hand and I went in for the handshake, and I may have already told you this, but it just really stuck with me. And so I was like, hi, Deputy PM, gave him a handshake, and he just kind of like wiped his hand down his front as he's like talking to me. Yeah.
So looked you in the eye as he's wiping his hand.
I'd already
on his
asked him a
leg.
question and we were already, running because he was short of time, and he was wiping it down his leg. Yeah. In shot.
You're famous for your sweaty
mortified.
hands. You've always have very, very warm hands. And when you're nervous or working hard, they do become a little bit moist as well.
So slippery.
Yeah, very slippery. So that would have been an awkward exchange.
And do you know what I don't normally shake hands. Over the
you're a
years,
hugger.
I've become a hugger, I think, to cover up the fact that I get really sweaty hands. Are they sweaty now?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. But
See,
I'm not nervous.
I'm more of a genital groper myself. I just find that, you know what? We're beyond mates. We are close. We are.
Who are you interviewing?
Oh, it doesn't really matter. I'll do it to anybody. I had a former premier I won't name names, who hit on me, who was male. Oops, probably get a bit.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I bet you I know which premiere that was.
Were you both sober?
Yeah. It was like a press conference scenario. That premiere had come out to Australia, where I was, kind of like what you're doing right now. I was out in and he just kept looking at me in the eyes, and he was just like, anything I'd say, he's just like staring straight into my soul. Not saying anymore. But yeah, I was. I was not quite aware at the time of that kind of behaviour as to what it was, what it meant. But I certainly know now, in retrospect, that I think he enjoyed what he was seeing, and I was a young kid. Ready
If
to be
that's the
plucked.
premiere that I'm thinking that it was, had a pretty old decent reputation when I worked at Parliament House for flirting with young.
The same sex?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. I probably shouldn't have said where it was, because that now implies what state it was in, and I wasn't going to give it away or what state it was.
Right,
So
okay.
This is a post-production thing.
we might just remove that word. You can beep that out, can you please, later? The town that I
Absolutely.
mentioned where I was. It was
We'll
anonymous.
play one of those fun sound effects over it.
Do you know what? When you're a young journo and you are working with politicians, they basically can twist you, like they can make you do pretty much whatever you want, don't you reckon?
They're very good at manipulating
They
behaviour.
really are.
And particularly if you're a young journo and you don't have kind of the worldly skills to identify that you're being manipulated.
Yeah.
They can be quite enigmatic, and they're quite powerful. They carry obviously a lot of weight. And like you've the only stories I'd done prior to that was a flower show and a dog stuck in a tree. So now there's, a premier comes to you, and you get to interview them. It's a big moment in your career. So
And they have a lot of authority and a lot of agency, and it's
and plus you're a hungry journo going, this is my big chance to sort of show off my journo skills. And all he wanted to do is, take me out for some yum cha.
Yum cha.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I text you. Okay. I text you when I found out I was interviewing the PM, and I was like, do you have any tips, anything like that? I can tell you, I would not have been able to do that chat if I hadn't have been working with you guys, because, you've exposed me to a lot of shit, and I've come out of my shell, and I can pretty much say whatever I want.
It sounds like you did a brilliant job, mate. It sounds like,
God.
and the biggest trick you'll fall into, and you, I don't think are doing this, which is amazing, is that you can sense the occasion, know that it's a big deal, and then you start to become someone you're not, or, you lower your tone, or things get very serious. You look like you've maintained who you really are, and if you can continue to do that, you'll be a magnificent broadcaster. You already are. But yeah, well done.
Yeah,
I was really
well
happy
done.
to see you do that. It's like seeing your own child graduate university. It was one of those moments. I'm sure. What did your mum and dad say when you said that? I just interviewed the PM.
Oh, I almost felt like blocking my dad, because he just kept on calling me after every single break that went to air. He's like, oh my God, that's so cool that you got him to say that. So yeah. He's like, Mum's saying, oh, do you actually have the Prime Minister's number? And I'm like, guys, just
Oh my
please
God,
stop.
that is so cute.
But they're so proud.
Oh,
Yeah, that's huge.
that is so big. That's beautiful. I remember when I was interviewing a politician once, and I don't know. I actually looked at last week, and I don't know if when you cough off mic, if it actually works.
No, it's
I know
because we're
we've
sitting
got
so close together that if I cough off mic, you just hear me through yours.
Yeah. We're still battling away down here with the end of the influenza A. I was interviewing a politician, and I was so bamboozled. I just remember standing there looking at them, and I asked a question, and then they answered something completely different. And I looked down at my notepad, and I thought, that is not the grab or the quote that I wanted all. So I asked another question, and then they literally repeated exactly the same answer, just in a different way.
They just know how to do it. They know how to exactly bamboozle you, so they don't have to commit themselves to anything or say anything
Yep.
that Yeah, they just do whatever
So
they want.
and they're so good at it. And I didn't realise until I worked at Parliament House why they are so good at doing that. What is going on here? We're trying to put the...
Can you just keep talking while I do
Sorry,
this, please?
I can't because I get distracted.
It's the PM. He's listening to us right now.
We forgot to put our do not disturb on. We were on my first day working at Parliament House way back when, and I went to question time, and I stood there with my mouth open, like literally. I've never seen adults behave the way that they behaved. It was incredible.
All the shouting.
Oh,
and
the shouting and
slurs.
the name calling and the full theatrics and it was then that I realised why they answer questions, from little country journos like they do, because, we don't really put too much pressure on them.
No, not
But some people sit there and watch it and thrive off it, which is quite interesting.
off watching them go nuts in Parliament. Yeah, it's so I prefer some more of those extreme countries where they just get into all-in brawls. I love those.
Like the
Flipping
one
tables.
Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
That our kids love.
Take that, big government. And as they're all having a big fight. I love when it comes to blows in Parliament. Like, what kind of shambolic country are you running where you can't even stop punching each other in Parliament? It's hilarious.
Surely that
Go
doesn't
hard or
happen
go
anymore.
home, I say.
Exactly. Oh, you can't. You won't put my water bill through. Boom, bang. Got that.
Can you imagine that happening?
You were a young girl with a short skirt and pretty blonde hair when you were working in state parliament. What kind of treatment would you have received? Because it was.
We're talking 20 years ago.
Exactly, it was the bad old days.
Yeah, it's lots of sexual innuendo, lots of really slimy, gross, comments and yeah.
Just relentless and unchecked, I would imagine. No one's pulling anybody up on that kind of behaviour.
No, God, no. There was several times where I felt really uncomfortable and very awkward. Never kind of on my own, where I, felt like I needed to complain, but it was definitely a thing. No, they'd talk about the size of your boobs and just various comments.
I guess if you go back earlier,
I have to just say here, sorry, that the majority of the rancid comments came from not from the party that I was working for, not from the Liberal Party, not saying that they weren't doing that, but it was people that didn't know me that would just make comments,
So who are they? Are they from the other party?
Well, they were... so I'm trying to think very quickly how I can say this without getting myself into
professionally trouble. And also in Parliament. And
I'd get into the lift with with people, and I'd look at them and think, wow, that's a minister, and they would often make some gross remark about the length of a skirt or just all in jest.
Without any other conversation, they just say that.
There'd be people around and they'd just laugh and,
There's people around. It's not just you and the minister in the lift.
No.
So there's an audience and they're going straight to boobs as a conversation starter.
I don't remember that happening in the lift, but there was several conversations that happened, about, my tops, and I ended up wearing bloody roll necks.
Turtlenecks.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people that...
He's Steve Jobs. Black turtleneck.
Maybe he worked at Parliament House too. I'm not one
Stole
of
your
those.
style.
I'm not one of those people who's out there like all showy and stuff.
You're never it's a terrible word to use. I won't use that word. You're never overtly sexual dresser.
No, and so I worked. I used to wear suits, and very rarely would I ever wear skirts and things. I just felt that maybe that was asking for
and
it.
this is not, we're not talking the era of that TV show Mad Men, and the advertising agencies where people were behaving like absolute pigs 24/7.
We're talking 2000, 2001, 2002.
Why is it the politicians normal work environments weren't behaving like that at that point in time? Why politicians think that was okay when the rest of the world had already moved on and realised that it was not okay?
I don't think that the rest of the world had moved on because I also worked in TV scenario, TV newsroom.
TV and politics are probably the two worst environments for behaviour.
Yeah, and I remember having conversations with other people that I, worked around and worked with at the time and,
Mel
in and
Doyle?
around that time. No, like at Parliament House. I remember them saying,
Kerry
they
Chikarovsky?
felt... Well, Kerry... Yeah, I worked for Kerry. So Kerry actually poached me. So I interviewed her in Orange when she came so she was the leader of the opposition. And then she pulled me down from TV to Sydney Parliament House. So
That's a pretty big deal.
it was a pretty big deal. But she...
I think I was
She
going to
was
be
great.
poached too, but for a very different reason.
Different kind of poaching
Yeah, more of a poking than a poaching.
and a prodding. While we're on
But
the
I never felt
sort of-
I never felt so uncomfortable that I had to complain. Whereas I did see other people felt quite uncomfortable. But I don't know if that was because of my news background and working in newsrooms.
Are politicians just built differently, where they're just socially a little awkward and don't understand boundaries?
Some of
or-
them, I would have to say, some of them have. Some of the ones that I had met, at that time, I think had come up through the ranks and they always knew that they wanted to be politicians. And so they joined, whatever it was, Young Labor, Young Liberal, and didn't, kind of... They were just very politicised.
They were brought up in the
and
system.
And so they didn't have a lot of probably social, experience. But, from working in politics, I just think to myself, it takes a very special breed to become a politician, because why would you want to be a politician? They all go in with big eyes and big ideals, and they get, it's very difficult. And
Hey, do you guys remember that sort of moment on Australian TV where the journalists were all wearing, this is completely off topic, but they were all wearing pink? We're all wearing white today. Did anybody speak to wardrobe?
Oh my God, we are too. Yeah, that
I'm
reminds
going to complain
me.
to wardrobe now.
Was it the Channel 9? It was
Yes.
Channel 9 where they
Like
were,
a panel.
they were wearing the same shirt, and she requested that one of them go and change.
yeah.
And they didn't.
So who's it going to be?
And someone's recorded an off-air excerpt, I think, didn't they? And leaked it as one of them was having a meltdown that another girl was wearing the similar-looking dress.
I was horrified to see.
I've got a jacket. I can throw it on if you'd
I
like.
was horrified at some of the words that came out of that particular journo's mouth, because
This is the sisterhood turning on the sisterhood. It was savage, man. I don't know if you've seen the clip, but the clip of the girls fighting over who was wearing what just before they went to air, it was like insane primary school shit.
But don't you remember, like, some of the... Oh, you probably didn't ever used to... I used to be in there with updates and, like, with a lot more studio records, and there was sometimes with some people who would say things and I would think... And I'd bite my tongue and I'd think, oh, my God, one day that stuff's going to get leaked. You can't behave like that.
Yeah. So remember, Chezzi was a producer for a breakfast television show. So she's
not just a
seen
breakfast
lots
television, I
of these
did-
kinds, and news as well.
I did afternoons and nights and late nights and weekends and, yeah, so...
Mate, when they turn on each other, they turn on each other. It's a savage world out there, George. Savage.
Probably best to treat every camera and microphone as if it is live, even if it is off.
Exactly. Or you know what? Or just don't be a dick anyway to anyone, ever. You know what I mean?
There's something about women who work in, like, it's not all women, but there's something about female hard-nosed journalists that they can be really bitchy.
Well, they're also used to picking apart politicians and looking for flaws in the argument. You know, their job as a journalist is to lift layers and expose truths, which I think means you end up becoming a little bit of a savage, to be honest. And
God, we're really just letting fly. This is not what we had planned for this episode, but but don't you reckon there's a particular and I feel bad because I have a lot of friends who are female journos, and I know that they feel like they don't get the same.
Yeah, you're talking about a male-dominated industry of news, you know, which is headed up by the kinds of people that we've been talking about already in this show. So yeah, you're not given a fair chance. You people often refer to your appearance.
Yes, always.
Particularly in television journalism. You know, it's all about how you look and what you're wearing, what your hair's like. You've only got to look at all the fan mail that come in, whether it be old school handwritten or via email. It's just so much for women when no matter how good a reporter they are, no matter how important it is what they're saying and discussing at the time, people will still go, "Ugh, hate that dress. Ugh, makeup looks horrible today."
Oh, gosh.
Like that's just all people friggin' do. And that's so unfair. And that doesn't happen to men.
And that is very true. That is, I've seen plenty of those emails. But I've also worked with a lot of female journos who, many of them, extremely successful today, and they're just genuinely nice people who are still very good at their job. But there is a breed of female journo that can be really
hungry.
snipey.
They're just hungry, and it's a tough environment.
Competitive industry.
Very few amount of people actually make it because there's not many jobs. There's there's hundreds of thousands of people competing for them, but there's not many of them to go around. So it's a dog eat dog kind of world, journalism. It's a tough area.
Again,
I couldn't survive in there. I just wasn't angry enough or aggressive enough.
Same.
So I didn't like it, and I'd get pushed around. I remember being a regional journo and having, again, the politicians come out. I remember an ABC journo would never let me ask a question. And if I'd eventually get to ask a question, they'd go, "Pull," and they'd cut me off and push their mic in front of mine and then just go and ask theirs. Like savage stuff, like elbow to the ribs
God.
while you're in a press conference.
ABC Radio?
Yeah.
ABC. Oh, because they were a serious journo and you...
And I was literally just the colour reporter. So, yeah, they'd just eat me alive.
Yeah, and I didn't like the other, journos. If you ever had to do a press conference, I was always like, "Oh, sorry,
You can feel
sorry."
the tension in the air during those conferences.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare to find a market where all of the media outlets and the announcers or journalists all get together and have a grand old time. Like, it's sort of not a thing anymore.
Which is so sad. Well, they don't even have, I don't even think they have like newsrooms out here anymore.
No,
it's
they're
all
centralised.
Which is
See, even if you were like,
so sad.
if you were caught chatting to the opposition like news team by your bosses, it was really frowned upon. But we'd all go drinking with each other. Of course we would, because the war would be waged over our heads. It'd be all at executive levels, that kind of 7 versus 9 or win versus prime. Whereas we're just, you're knocking out your 3 stories a day. It's flat out. You're just doing your best. You're making tons of mistakes, but that's what the beauty of working in the country is rounding off all those rough edges. And
it's such a shame that all those newsrooms are closing down. Oh, actually, I saw an ad with Ray Martin that he was saying keep our newsrooms open or something.
Who's gonna keep all those politicians in check? Who's gonna stop all those dodgy deals with councils?
George.
George is. Yeah.
There
he is. Well, he's already got the Prime Minister on side, so
we're
very clearly never want to go back into journalism ever again.
What if the Prime Minister rings you this afternoon and says, "Mate, that interview you did was the best interview I've ever had. Will you come and work for me on my communications team?"
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd look at the pay, I think.
Yeah.
And then
can I just say, George, like, there's no comparison when it comes to like pay, unfortunately, in media, which everybody thinks you get paid, a fortune, compared to government jobs. It's
There's way more. What you're saying is there's way more pay
There's
in
way
government
more
jobs
pay,
than there is in the media. However, mate, you're destined for great things, and will you get your creativity working for the PM? Yeah, you'll
Well,
probably
that's
get to ride around in a car with little flags on the front, and that's pretty goddamn amazing.
Take photos of him shaking hands with people. That's pretty riveting.
Yeah.
Watching a solid handshake.
Just watching him handshake and then just wipe his hand down his leg.
Yeah, that's it. I'll just gather all of the the bad sides. That's a terrible thing. That's a bad job interview.
Do you
Don't
know,
send this to him.
I remember when I worked at Parliament, I felt like my creative soul was just slowly dying. There was no creativity.
It's a different side of the brain in there.
It is.
It's an academic side versus a creative side. So a creative would struggle in that environment, I reckon. And you're a creative.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why I moved from journalism into on air.
Yeah. Are you liking that more as a result, do you reckon? It's tickling your funny bone more or satisfying you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm so satisfied. Like the Prime Minister chat was the first ever bit of research I've done in the past year. Everything else, I am just talking shit and playing songs.
Well, you off to a
But
good
that's
start. You
fun.
didn't call him Scott Morrison, so well done.
Do you know how hard that was? When we were doing the intros and outros. Don't go anywhere. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese coming up next.
Yeah, that would have been.
He'd be pretty used to it by now, I dare say.
He's only been in the job for 8 minutes, so it's fair enough if you did.
Yeah, he'd understand, surely.
Yeah, he's pretty relaxed sort of dude. Hey, what are we doing today?
Well, I thought that
Talking about what's on the next episode now.
That was really good. Thanks so much, everybody. Hopefully we don't get sued after this. I was just thinking. Oh
Nah.
No, it's a podcast.
Nah, we'll be right.
We'll be right. Yeah. I've just realised I didn't wear my wedding ring, so that'll be next week's headline.
Well,
I don't
now
have
that
any
you've brought
jewelry
their
on.
attention to it, it will be.
I thought we could talk about. Grant's been out on the tractor a lot, right? He wants to be a farmer, and we live on a farm.
He is a farmer.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I got
Yeah.
a giant hat.
He does have a giant hat, and it's like
Giant windmill.
yeah.
I got cows.
Yeah.
What one of those says I'm not a farmer? They
Well-
all say I'm a farmer to me.
We have had
You're a
a
farmer.
couple of people ask questions about our cows. So I thought maybe, we could talk a little bit about our farm and our cows and how we are not cow farmers because of we bought 3 cows
Yep.
in 2016, I think. It was a bull, a cow, and a calf.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little family.
Little
Yeah.
family.
Yeah,
And
it's cute.
we
eh?
were so
Scottish
excited.
Highland cows. Scottish Highland cows are the oldest cattle breed in the world. It's the only meat that the Queen eats.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's as tough as everybody says.
Oh, well, she's tough. Look at her. She's a bloody weapon. She's still going. She's
That's the reason why
160,
she's doing.
and she's bloody still having parties. Yeah, Scottish Highland cows. So they're the ones with the long, kind of shaggy, reddish hair with huge horns and a nice,
Yeah.
cute little fringe. They're very Instagrammable, which is why I have them. I don't know.
No, when we bought this farm, they had Scottish Highlands.
Actually, they did.
And
yeah.
when we drove in, we were like, "What are those cows? They look incredible. They had the cutest faces. They've got puffy lips, or cow lips, don't they? Not puffy lips, but like
There's our next song.
Dog.
Yeah.
they had big eyes and really cool hair and cool kind of crimped fringes and these awesome horns and. So when we bought the house, we were like, let's get some.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is prior to me finding out that I go back 5 generations.
yes.
My family lived on the Scottish Highlands, who bred and looked after these cows. So it's like
so
the
crazy.
generational cycle. So I was like, I
You're
don't know
drawn
why
to it.
I'm drawn to these cows. I don't know what it is, but it's deep inside my DNA, and now I know why. They were my people. Yep.
But
And-
they were also my people, so maybe we are related.
Oh God, that explains my 6th toe.
No, because I didn't have you. That doesn't work out.
So these cows are like meat ones, but does the calf have the ability to be
sorry.
milked?
Oh.
You're always so sexual, George. And I
I was coming.
Stop
I was being a serious
talking
journalist.
You-
about milking our bull, okay, mate? Like just because you got
He
gentle
said milk-
hands.
he
I
said
said
milk
calf.
the calf. You don't milk a calf. They don't have milk.
Nah, these aren't milking. These aren't milking
I'm gonna wet
cows.
myself.
No, it was a legit question.
No.
Until I took it off
can't milk.
track. No, they're not milking cows. They are.
Look at
Yeah,
you
they're
cows.
literally, it's like
Right.
set dressing for our farm. It makes it look farmier than it is, and they bring some life to the farm, which is nice. They're all
They
pets.
were pets, and we were so excited. So we got a dad, Rory, who had the thickest neck that you'd ever seen.
Such
And
a unit.
He was real red and a
Good
massive
looking
head.
unit.
And we got Goldie. She had a bit of a twisted horn and a kind of, which I liked because one horn, looked a bit lopsided. So I felt like she kind of looked a bit like me, a bit lopsided. And then we had a calf, Teddy. He was our first calf. And we were planning that we were going to breed them, and we were so excited. So 6 months down the track, and they've been going really well, and we've been loving looking out the window, looking at them, and Goldie's pregnant again, and we were super excited.
Yep.
We're gonna
George was the father. It's a very exciting time for all of us.
because we were gonna have
I
another.
haven't seen them in ages.
Hope you're paying maintenance, mate.
How are the kids? Yeah.
We were so
Sending
excited,
down a bale of hay a week.
and then we started noticing that Rory started like getting a bit itchy, or started scratching himself and rubbing himself on like fence posts, and we had
Hereditary.
Yep.
we had like a sail up to protect them from the sun, and he'd rub himself really hard on the sail. And anyway, then Grant goes away. It always happens when Grant's away. Grant goes away for a race event in New Zealand, and I'm driving down the driveway, and I looked, and I've got Scout was a baby, like really tiny in the car, 20. Yeah, so she would have been probably 8 months. Sailor wasn't very old at all. Driving down the driveway right on dusk, and I see a couple of our trees in our house yard have all been broken.
These are new trees that we've been growing for like maybe a year or two. So they were sort of juvenile, and we're really excited about the trees. We've been putting a lot of water on them in a drought, so very tough to manage.
Trying really hard to get some growth, and I noticed that they were all snapped off, and it was just the branch, like just the base.
It's like, is there a tornado that's gone through here? Like,
That's exactly what I thought. I was like,
on earth?
So I kept driving, and then I saw Rory had literally walked over the fence. He'd been rubbing his doodle on the
Oh, rainbow. There's a rainbow out the window.
the fence line.
It's really bright.
Well, they can't see it. So.
No, but I just want to let you... You know what? When a rainbow falls, you tell everyone. It's exciting.
So Rory had walked literally over the fence and decided to rub his doodle on the fence line and was like, rub, rub, rub.
It was
and
a dick scratcher
and
for sure.
The fence line went boink, 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 and pulled out because he was so strong. So then he's just gone, oh, you know what?
I'm halfway there. Might as well
yeah.
step over it.
So he's walked into the house yard, and then he's decided to rub himself on all the trees, broken all the trees. Not only had he broken all the trees in our yard, our poor neighbour, who is meticulous about his trees, and he'd
Growing
planted.
some beautiful trees along these fence lines.
Rory had gone in there and smashed them all. Like he'd been growing them for 5 years. They were all perfectly
All at the right same
green.
height, you know, everything was like, it was going to look really uniform, and then
Yeah.
knocked them all down.
So I've gone, oh my God, there's Rory. And he looked really angry, and he was like, and I'm in the car. So I get out of the car.
He's a bull. Let's not forget he's a bull
Yeah.
with massive nuts, and horns.
So I get out of the car and I get two like sticks, and I'm holding them up, and I'm like, Rory, hi, come on, come back into the yard. And normally he's pretty calm, but he was not calm at all. And he had this crazy look in his eyes. And he started kind of like stomping his hoof and like putting his head down.
You know when you see like a bullfighter, like you know when the bull's about to charge, he's doing that.
Yeah, you weren't wearing red, were you, Chezzi?
No, but I like really shit myself because I thought, what am I going to do here? Like this is
Like he's 1.5 tons of
this
animal.
is bad. This is really bad. How am I going to get him in there?
And you're there with your two sticks.
With my two
what
sticks
you can
right
do.
on dusk. Anyway, then my neighbour comes over.
She's like an
and
air traffic controller trying to
yeah.
wave in a 747.
This is a safety hazard.
he expresses, he's like, oh, your bull's, broken all my trees. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I can't get him back into the yard. Anyway, the bull takes off we've got a shared driveway. He takes off up the shared driveway. And I think to myself, I'm really in trouble here. Then he's decided just to go over next door's fence. So he's gone over the fence, like just walked over, like literally put his front feet. How do you explain it? Like just put his front feet
He just
over.
stepped over his front legs. He's like, oh, well, I'll just bring the back legs over as well, and away I go.
So there goes another fence. Boink, 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 boink. There's horses getting out, like prized horses from next door. He's breaking fences, breaking gates. He's just like out of control.
What a menace.
And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I've got Sailor in the car with the high beams on because I didn't want anybody to come flying
that'll
up
teach
there.
him.
Yeah.
Get him with the high beams.
She's a
That's one thing
4-year-old.
Scottish highlandcows are afraid of, and that's high beams.
And I've like, I rang everybody that I knew. We had people in buggies trying to get him back in, and he was going for everyone. It was dreadful.
Yeah, he's normally going to hand feed him. Like he's normally definitely not that feisty.
No.
So it was very unusual. I don't know what had set him off.
Well, we found out later it was because the baby bull had grown up and they out testosterone each other, but we didn't realise.
When you've got when a dad gives birth to the bull, not that the dad does, but the mum does. So his son, when you got two bulls in a paddock, both their testosterone levels inflate massively. So their necks get thicker, they put on a heap of body mass, and they just get really feisty.
And their testicles
Because they compete against one another, and their testicles.
Ginormous.
Yeah.
But we didn't realise. So we had like one mum and then Rory, and he was getting like extra, extra big, and the calf was getting, like the bull calf was getting really, really big. And so he's just had a brain snap, Rory. So
he's just he's roid raging. It's basically what he's doing.
yeah.
He's roid raging because that's what his hormones were doing.
And it was so scary. I had literally everybody on my road out at night we had sticks and we had, we had everything you could think of. And the one person who saved my life that night, because I didn't know, like he was out of control. He was breaking things and running into cars and stomping, and there's kids around and horses and cows, and
Normally you could just coax them back in with a little bit of food, but no, he was beyond that.
so our neighbour Cheryl in her little Mazda 3 drives out, taps him on the bottom, and
With
he's
the
like,
front of the car.
yeah, he's like,
She just drove the car
out the window.
he's like tap, 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 and he's, and I was thinking, oh my God, she's incredible. Tapped him the whole way into her yard, into a pen, and all night he was in there until the next morning, until we could get a truck, because apparently if they go crazy, you can't ever get them back. So we had a lot of tears that night. I was very upset, but he had to go to market the next day to be sold. Unfortunately for meat, because they just, they go crazy. But
So they go so crazy, they have this outburst, and then they're like, okay, well, this is the end.
Well, I think it was our fault for having two males together, but we didn't
Yes.
realise his son had now crossed over to being that sort of teenager in which then now they start competing. And once they figure they can get out, you'll never contain them. So.
so he knew that he could just walk across fences. And the aftermath was horrendous. It was so embarrassing. Like, you live on a farm, George, fences, they're not cheap, and to repair them, and I'm like repairing, trying to get horses back in, and we were out until midnight that night with all the people in the street, and some of them were pretty pissed off at me. Or Grant, because I blame
wasn't
Grant.
here, so they were
Grant
just pissed
wasn't
off at you. Which is, I think the better way to handle the situation, to be honest, is to be just pissed off at you.
Oh, it was awful. It was so terrible. And then I said, right, that's it. We're never having another bull ever again.
No, we
We've
never
got to
did.
get rid of this baby bull. So we decided to sell the baby bull. And this is another great story, because we listed, we've got this beautiful baby. He was very gentle, beautiful baby bull. If you want to, come and have a look. We had a couple of people come and have a look. We had a lady come and buy him.
Yep.
And we said, we'll load him up on a truck. So the truck arrived, and then we tried to put him in, and Mum went absolutely berserk.
Schizo. Completely schizo.
Because we tried to separate them. And so she's jumped into the truck as well. And so we thought,
All right, you can both go. if you want to stay together that much, well, then fine. No worries. Two for one.
we
Jump in.
were like, okay, no worries. Well, we'll take you for the trip, and then when we drop the calf off, we'll bring the mum back. But it didn't work out like that. So the truck goes to this new property, and the calf goes to get out, and the mum goes too. And she was pregnant, so it was very difficult to kind of, wrangle her. So we thought, that's okay, we'll take another truck back out and we will separate them. And how did that go, Grant?
Yeah, the boy just ran off through about 5 fences, just straight through them.
No.
And we caught him 2 farms over.
We had to get my dad with the.
This is not a great advertisement for our business as farmers. Can I just say, because we have amassed, look, our breeding techniques have changed a
They
lot.
have. This was early on.
Now we have about 50 of these cows with our neighbours, our friends.
Yeah.
So we're getting up there in like numbers. We have refined the processes. This is very early days. mind you.
Very early.
So when we do put on a national auction for our cattle, we don't want any prospective buyers thinking that they're all just rancid animals that are uncontrollable. That is not the case anymore.
No, because
So in your flyers that you hand out, you won't have a link to this episode. That's for sure.
No.
No, but that bloodline is gone now.
Yeah, we weeded them out, and now now they're more hand reared.
And now we also know that you cannot.
And that was
separate.
drought too, so they were pretty desperate. They were struggling for feed.
And we used to give them molasses. Remember?
Oh, they love the molasses.
You can't
Is that
separate
like the liquidy, sticky stuff?
It's basically just raw sugar compound. It's the
golden
stuff.
syrup.
Yeah, stuff that you find in Bundaberg rum. That's molasses.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And they loved it. And
that's a
they're-
bit of a treat.
yeah, and we hand feed them, and this was as Grant said, very early on. But I tell you what, it was a nightmare. Wasn't
Until
it?
we
So
started
you wanna-
feeding them marijuana, and then they really calms down. then they do whatever you want, providing you had some salt and vinegar chips for them afterwards.
We've had plenty of photo shoots where we've like given them bread and stuff, and they love bread, they love pumpkin. During the drought, I gave them cauliflower and lettuce.
Trying to give them whatever we could.
Yeah,
because you couldn't find hay, and people who were in more desperate situation than us needed the hay, so we were like just trying to feed them, leftover vegetables and stuff that farmers hadn't sold, or they're about to turn or go off.
But they're such beautiful animals, and we really loved them.
This is where it's time to let George know that we've set up an arena, and he's going to ride our latest bull as part of our next podcast.
I'm keen. Well, I think maybe you've forgotten that I live in the beef capital of Australia. So if you'd like to come and do like a retreat and check out the Brahmins up here.
A retreat.
Is this like where you
Like a
take
beef
your cow
retreat?
and they get like their hooves all done and they get mud baths and facials and stuff? That kind of
How
retreat?
dare you call me a cow?
Sure, we can make it happen. Then we've got the only like indoor bull riding arena that's attached to a pub in
love this.
Australia, I believe.
I
so
love
we can
it.
set up a bull riding setup somehow. Do
Have
want
you
me to get
ridden a
on one?
bull?
Yeah, well, I don't want to freak you out. Yeah, I've ridden a bull. I've ridden a couple of bulls. Well, one was a potty calf. They're tiny. But I've ridden a very small bull, and I only lasted like 2.5 seconds. That was it. You guys are supposed to get to 8. That's where you get the green light.
I couldn't hang on to a bull because my hands get too slippery. But
That's true.
I'd tie my hands in, so I'd end up like
You'd still be on it as it's sort of just breaking every bone in
Yeah,
your body as
well,
you're
my
flopping in the
wrists
air.
yeah.
Well, our latest bull is called Death Wish, mate, and best of luck. But if
Look
you
forward
get to
to
8
jumping onto him.
seconds,
no. Have you ridden a bull, George?
No, I've been on a mechanical bull, and yeah, there's been many, many times in many meetings where producers or my bosses said, yeah, we need to get you onto a bull, and it just hasn't quite happened yet, but I'm actually kind of keen.
it's scary as hell, man. It is scary as hell. Like when you're sitting in the race, when it's side on, before they swing the gate open and it's go time. Like it's frightening, even if it's a little thing. That just, mate, even if it just squashed you up against the fence, you're in trubs. Like there goes all your ribs.
What do you need?
It's hard. They're hardcore.
What do you need to what skills do you need to have to be a good bull rider?
No brains is a good start because
Is there anyone that we haven't offended during today's episode?
we'll just defend everyone equally. That's how we.
This is the last episode of It's All True.
No,
It
I
was
think
all true.
It's, mate, yeah.
No, like, because there has to be a skill. Because I was just trying to
Oh,
think,
of course
like,
it's a skill.
like, you know, if you're a good motorbike rider, because you're good at because I am not
Bull
good
riding and motocross riding with the big jumps feels very similar. Lots of injuries
Right, okay.
for both.
All right, so right, okay.
Yeah, lots of collarbones.
So I would be a
arms, legs,
terrible
necks.
bull rider because I am terrible being like, what's it called when you piggyback on a motorbike?
When you're a pillion passenger.
A pillion.
Yeah,
Doubling?
Pillion
Doubling.
is the technical word.
You know when you say don't, like, you know, you turn
You're
a
leaning the
corner
wrong
and
way.
I turn the wrong way. So I would be a bad bull rider probably.
Everything hurts. Like it's dangerous stuff. It's cool to watch. Like going to a rodeo is unreal. It's good vibe, high energy. Country people are fun, you know. But mate, you get on one. Do it for radio. It's literally because you realise it has so much more mass than you that you have no say in how it's about to go. It's really up to the bull what he wants to do to you. And let's not forget, there's a reason why there are rodeo clowns, because the moment they buck you off, they want to finish you off, right? They either want to hit you with their horns or stomp on you, right? So it's not over if you fall off. You've still got to get out of there.
It's a proper. I was speaking to a bloke in the pub a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me that he used to do all the bull riding circuits like around Australia, and he midway through the conversation was like, "Oh yeah, and the rodeo back up in Darwin, this happened," and he pulled his entire set of teeth out. The whole set, and he said this bull knocked them all out. And I mean, it was half cut. It was absolutely pissed. So he could have been lying, but
Nah, that sounds very believable.
The safety equipment back in the 80s to where we are now, like you're wearing full braces and you, like it's
Some of them have
changed.
helmets now. Yeah, back then his only form of defense
Was his teeth.
was Jack Daniels.
That was his protection, and he lost his teeth.
God, do many people die?
I'm sure over the years, yeah, a lot of people maimed. There's another sport that's also really dangerous. Is that high-speed water skiing, you know, like the bridge-to-bridge ski racing.
yeah.
That stuff is, you know, those things are doing like 180 kilometres an hour where, you know, you fall off or your limbs get separated.
We saw a lot of people that had funny arms.
Dead arms, they call it,
Dead
where
arms.
just the arm's still there, but it doesn't work anymore. So it's real skinny, and they usually just sort of tuck it into their jean pocket. Because they're ski races and they've come off, and basically all the nerves just separate from your joints. Because hitting the water at that kind of speed, you can imagine you're tumbling across the water, it just wants to separate all your parts of your body.
I don't know what part of that would be enjoyable.
Yeah.
What part of going that fast and knowing if you come off would be enjoyable?
No,
I don't
it's
know.
not for me.
But-
But it's, I guess it's like but it's like all bravery. Who wants to be the first person to climb Mount Everest? Like that sounds.
Sir Edmund Hillary.
Yes, he was. Correct. It's not a competition. This
Okay. Oh, sorry.
is this is not Millionaire. He wants
But
to be a
like,
millionaire.
what I want to know is how did bull riding come about? How did somebody just get on a bull? Like, you know, it's like me just getting on Rory. And
Alcohol.
Like, right.
Alcohol is how it definitely would have started. They would have been cattle.
Right.
They would have been cattle wranglers in Texas ranches, and they were like, you know what? I'm a bigger man than you. I'm going to ride this bull. And then all of a sudden, now you got another dude going, yeah, well, I'm going to ride it longer than you. And then there's another dude who then goes, I'm going to ride the bigger one over there. And now you have yourself a competition. And it's a huge, big part of American culture. That whole cowboy philosophy and lifestyle is hugely revered in America, and so they love that stuff. Yeah.
I'll tell you this. At least I did a little Google. At least 21 professional bull riders have died since 1989.
That's not too bad. That's pretty good.
True numbers likely far higher, as amateur bull riders are not included in these stats.
That's tough.
But that's not a high number professionally speaking. Hey,
No, I would have thought like
Still sad.
motorsport would be more than that. Like, yeah, for sure over the years. So it's
But hold on, there could be a lot without teeth, without half a brain. They might not be able to walk. They could have missing arms. Can you look
back
up
injuries. The back injuries, just being slammed.
You know what
by
it reminds
bullets
me of? You
bucking.
know, Yellowstone, like Jimmy, how he broke his neck and his back.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fictitious, but Oh, that was a drama.
I feel like I know him.
Yeah,
I was really engrossed in that show.
I feel like I know the guy who ran the ranch from somewhere. What's his name? Kevin Costner. Oh, that's right.
Dances with Wolves.
That documentary with Kevin Costner where he owns a ranch.
Yeah. Oh, it did feel like that, didn't it? No,
Actually, bloody good show.
We know a couple of bull riders.
Yeah, we do actually. Yep.
I don't know what their names are.
Really well.
Yeah.
We've had a few cousins date a few bull riders. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just built differently. I've spent a bit of time with the rodeo clown guys, also equally as nuts, probably more nuts.
I think I'd like them more than
they're crazy. They're fun crazy.
Yeah. I could be a rodeo clown.
I don't know if you could.
Why not?
You out there with your sticks, just trying to convince with your Mazda 3, trying to get a bull off a bloke that's pinned on the ground.
Hey, bull.
Sailor in the car.
Hey, excuse me. Leave that man alone. You've already bucked him off. Stop bloody putting your horns through his upper torso. You'll kill him. Go away.
Hang on. I'll call my neighbours.
Hang on.
Give me 1 second.
Get Cheryl from across the road with her Mazda 3, please. Get her on the phone. Yes, it's an emergency. Darren's down.
I think Dale's about 50 kilometres up the road too.
Get
He's
him
got
as
a big
well.
truck.
That is not how I would sound.
He's got a Mazda 6. Oh, shit, bring that. That'll stop chainsaw. Yeah. Chainsaw, don't make me bring the Mazda 6 in. It's bloody bigger than the 3.
Okay.
Stacey's got the baseball bat.
I was just thinking, you've got to be able to be real nimble up those fences and get over the edge.
Yeah, watching them jump for their lives when they climb out of the ring.
That's not me.
What about in the bullfighting when occasionally a bull will jump into the audience? That's scary.
What?
Have you never seen that?
Oh, hey, George, Google how many people have been killed in the audience.
Bullfighting. Well, you see when a bull jumps into the crowd, oh, mate.
See, Rory, we could have sold him to the bullfighters.
They could have. They're not renowned as big buckers. Like, maybe they could be. I don't know.
He was pretty
running
angry.
of the bulls. I have no intention of doing. I wanted to do a lot of crazy stuff for television, but running of the bulls
Yeah, why does that not interest you?
because you are in a narrow tunnel and they are a line of bulls coming down, and they good chance they'll hit you.
Do many people... Hey, George, Google...
What the hell is George's in Siri?
You know what we need? Yeah, we need a Hey Google to sit in
we
the studio
do.
somewhere.
How many have died running of the bulls? You guys chat amongst yourselves.
I don't really... I don't know. I have no... I don't know, desire to ever run away from a bull in... Like, if I went somewhere, where running in the bulls... Is that Spain? I'd be, much prefer sangria, sitting out on a
16.
veranda or something, not being chased
I've
by...
lost... What? Thousands. Oh, okay. No, 16 is the number that I've got.
What, 16 people have died in the running of the bulls?
I don't know if that was like 1 year or every year.
See, that's not...
No, there you go. Since 1910, 16.
Well, that's not that many. Mind you, if the tunnels
Mostly
are so
by
narrow...
gorings. Okay, so let's just say... So that's a horn going through your chest.
That's a horrible way to go.
Does it have to be through your chest? It could be through your
At
neck.
least you wouldn't have to run the rest of the way. The bull would just carry you. You know what I mean?
That's terrible.
Can CGI out the bull, yeah.
Yeah, but how many people have been injured in running of the bulls? See, that's people who have died.
Oh, think of...
There would be so many.
Oh,
Yeah.
mate, it'd be endless.
Thousands.
Well, that's our story of why we are cattle barons. And
And I was going to talk about our chooks too. I was going to talk about all the great stories. But we're kind of out of time. We had a chook called Amanda Keller. Actually, we had a couple of chooks. We had Miguel. Mm-hmm. We had Chris.
Yep.
Dr. Chris.
Dr. Chris.
And
Amanda.
And Barry. I think, yeah.
Barry had beautiful feathers.
The living room cast.
Yeah.
The living room
They all had a
cast.
chicken each.
Yeah. And and Amanda Keller got taken by a fox, didn't she?
Yeah, our daughter came out and she's like, "Where's my chicken?" And I said, "Well,
It's a beautiful little silky.
there's a little bit over there, there's a little bit over there, there's a little bit over there."
Yeah.
You call the fox Jonesy?
Actually,
The old wily fox.
yeah, I don't know how the fox got in. I think I forgot to lock
We
up
should
the
do a
shed.
competition where people can come and stay on the farm. some listeners, some
We'd have
podcast
to do
people.
a lot of
my
research
God.
on who was going to come to the farm, wouldn't you?
Don't get me started on the Black Panther that I saw on this property.
The Black Panther.
That's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode.
One of the great mysteries of the Australian bush. I've seen it. I've got physical evidence. I've taken photos of it. I've seen it with my own eyes. Chezzi's seen it with her eyes. My mate's seen it with his eyes. The panther is real.
Yeah, actually,
Promise you.
that's what we can talk about next week.
In fact, we'll get the other guy on who's done the podcast, who's done all the history of it. We'll get him on. The Panther Man.
Yeah, that's a good
Panther
idea.
Man.
It's
This story's been kicking around since, I don't know, maybe 1940, 50.
and you know what? I had seen the panther several times on our property, and I told Grant, and he told me I needed to go and have a
You're
lie
drunk.
down.
You're crazy.
Yeah, I was pregnant. He told me to go and have a lie down. Yeah.
Hallucinating.
And then one day I was looking out the window and I said, "There it is." And he was like,
Holy hell.
"Yeah." And he saw it, and there was other people here, and they all saw it, and I've been telling
What
it
is
for ages.
What did it look like? How big was it?
You'll have
Big.
to tune into the next episode
Oh, yeah,
to
you
find
will.
out.
Hold on, George.
Classic
Do you
hook.
have
You're
any
not the
farm-
only one who can hook to tomorrow's episode, next week's episode,
Yeah.
whenever we record this, son of a bitch.
George, do you have
Kings
any
of Key.
farming stories before we go?
Any
off
farming
the top?
stories? Oh, look, so many. Very quickly, like my parents named me George because it's Greek for farmer, and look at how I turned out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And now
Well,
you're
my
in
dad's
radio.
Now I'm in media.
George, it's Latin for microphone.
And my middle name, like just going off topic, but saint name. So I went to a Catholic school and we had to choose a saint.
Yep.
Mine was Genesius, patron saint of drama.
Oh, that is perfect for you.
Oh my God,
Bit of
mine,
farming, bit of drama.
mine was Colette. Have I said that? Because you know, you can ring my bell. That
I
song
had her
that was.
poster.
Did you? Maybe we are related. Yeah, Colette. I chose Colette,
Stop
and
saying
they
that. It's making me feel ill.
and they weren't very happy with me that I'd chosen a saint that wasn't very well
Great
known.
Saint Colette from Ring My Bell.
Well, I liked the name because of that.
That was a good song.
Yeah.
It was a good
But
song.
I didn't know that there was a Saint Genesis.
Genesius, patron saint of
Genesius.
drama.
Yeah, obviously Chezzi never
Genesius.
listened to any of her classes. Genesius.
I wouldn't say he's the most famous saint.
No, but were they okay with you having that saint? Because we all,
It was a pass. They were like, it's not ideal, but what can we do? He likes
Yeah.
drama, so let's give it to him. But my farm story, just quickly before we go, I was out of a place called Burriga, which is in the central west of New South Wales. And I think actually there's a bit of a tie. Maybe your dad, Chezzi, had a part in building some of this house that I still
Yeah,
like,
the house
Yes.
the farm that you lived on was Chezzi's mum and dad's, where Chezzi was born.
yeah.
How crazy is that?
There you go.
No, I wasn't.
And we'll clean it out.
It was before I was born.
Oh, right.
And my mum used to sit there and cry all day because it was so far out of town. And she said, "I'm not having a baby here. I'll divorce you first." It's a story for another day.
So, Burriga.
At Burriga, and the only place you could pretty much clean yourself out or clean yourself off was
Clean
a
yourself
shower.
out.
What? Yeah, don't worry. It's late in the afternoon. We've been podcasting all day. So there's a shower outside next to the house, and it's like your typical, you got to fill it up and put all the water in a bucket and tip it over yourself, and there's soap ready for you to go. But you're in the elements. So if somebody walks past or drives in, they can see you. So my little brother, Gussie, says, yeah, you got to go outside and do that. And I said, okay, is anybody like expected to be coming? Where's dad? Where's the rest of the family? And he said, no, they're not coming. It's all good. Go and do it. So I did. I was taking my sweet time. I'm like, this is brilliant. I didn't take a towel out with me. I thought, I'll be all right. Yeah. The little bugger locks every single door to the house, and I'm stuck outside butt naked, covering myself up with like a clump of tussock in case my mum or dad or somebody drives in. And my dad started driving down the laneway, and I'm like, shit, Gus, open the door. Open the freaking door, bro.
And there's nowhere to hide.
And I'm sitting there with my tussock over my bits. My dad has never looked at me the same way again. It's a horrible,
Was this
horrible time.
recently?
This was my last trip down. Yeah, so
Oh,
maybe
I thought you were
7
talking like
months
when
ago.
you're like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something.
No, man, this is 7 months ago.
You're still picking the tussock out of your pubes? 'Cause that stuff is scratchy.
It's called serrated tussocks.
Serrated tussock, yeah. It's a noxious weed.
It is
so I got a massive rash still from it.
Don't tell us, mate. You can explain that to your dentist on date number 2.
You need to get a doctor, I'm telling you. That was funny.
Great to have your company, everyone. Thanks for listening this week. We look forward to chatting with you again next week. Don't forget you can leave a review. It does help other people find the podcast, which is nice. So if you can't be bothered, telling your friends, we hope you do. But leaving us a wonderful review makes a big difference to our numbers and our traffic. And also send us an audio message just like Elle did, talking about her kids singing inappropriate songs in the shower. Boop, 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 boop. Send it to George's Instagram account. This is his handle. @_JSarge on Instagram. And you too can become a person infected by serrated tussock. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Good night, Australia.
Bye.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Chezzidenyer.
Bye bye. See you next time.